Welcome to the Lounge Lizards podcast. It's so good to have you here. It's a leisure and lifestyle podcast founded on our love of premium cigars, as well as whiskey, travel, food, work, and whatever else we feel like getting into. My name is Gizmo, and tonight I'm joined by Rooster, Senator, Pagoda, and Bam Bam. And our plan is to smoke a cigar, drink some whiskey, talk about life, and of course, have some laughs. So take this as your 80th official invitation to join us and become a card-carrying lounge lizard. Plan to meet us here once a week. We're going to smoke a Cuban cigar tonight, share our thoughts on it, and give you our formal lizard rating. We wrap up the recap of our trip to Cuba this week. We highlight our favorite cigar shops and lounges in Havana, and we discuss our experiences at the Habanos Festival and Amigos de Partagás, all among a variety of other things for the next 90 minutes. So sit back, get your favorite drink, light up a cigar, and enjoy as we pair High West Double Rye Whiskey with the Montecristo Edmundo. A Robusto tonight from Montecristo on the pod from Cuba. It's called the Edmundo. It's a little bigger than the Robustos we're used to out of Cuba. It's actually a different size as well, but it's still a Robusto. It's a 52 ring gauge by 5 3/8 inch cigar. So compared to a D4, it's got about a half inch on it. And I think the ring gauge is about 2 millimeters bigger. So the factory name on this is actually an Edmundo. So it is a little different, but it's still classified as a Robusto in the retail chain. So this is the, I believe, fourth Montecristo we've done on the podcast. I can go through some of the other scores later on. But first, let's cut this thing, boys. See, we're getting on the cold draw on the wrapper.
Not the most elegant looking cigar.
It's not.
It's a potato farmer grade.
Yeah, you know, I've heard wonderful things about these cigars, and I've heard terrible things about these cigars.
You've never had it?
I've never had this cigar.
You're joking.
I swear.
Well,
Never had an
I've
Edmundo.
had a bunch of these.
You know, my draw is wide open.
Did anyone else catch that? I've had a bunch of these.
Yeah, you have.
Someone's
too.
tower is well stocked.
Oh,
Isn't that
God.
interesting?
I've never had one of these actually.
Well,
He says that quite often these days.
I'll take you to the. You know what? You know what it is. I'll take you to the corn farm, and they have a whole bunch over there. It is a rustic cigar.
It is. It's not
is
pretty.
my meaning. Yeah.
It's not pretty. So these are actually quite young boys. So we'll see if we taste the youth in them. These are GER, which is a provincial factory from July 22.
The cold draw is nice.
It is.
And it's wide open.
Wide open for me.
Yeah.
Tobacco and very slight hint of fruit.
Is anybody suffering on draw?
No,
How's
mine's
yours?
got a bit of resistance, but it should hopefully not be a problem.
Same here.
You good? Okay.
I feel like it does taste similar to like a Monty 2
It's nice.
on the cold draw.
It's nice.
You know,
I'm not getting much on the cold draw.
little
No,
dried
me
fruit
neither.
maybe at the
Yeah.
most.
Just a
A
tiny
little
bit.
cedar.
Cedar. That's it.
All right, boys, let's light this thing. The Montecristo Edmundo, again, 52 ring gauge by 5 3/8 inches. It's a Robusto, a little bigger than the other classic D4 RAS Epicure number 2 out of Cuba. A little bigger than those, but still a Robusto. And like I said, it's our fourth Montecristo from Cuba we're doing on the pod tonight. So,
Someone's flame is very loud.
yeah, coming in really hot. Is that mine?
I don't know.
That's me.
Senators. Flexing over there. Senators
yeah.
flexing.
It's pretty nice right off the light. Right?
Happy with that.
Yeah.
It's a good start. I do like the extra half inch on it.
Mhm.
I think that, you know, if it were to take a RAS or a D4, you all right over there, Bam?
Good.
The half inch? If you were to take a RAS or a D4 and add an extra half inch, I think that would even make those cigars even more perfect to give you that extra 15, 20 minutes. But I do like the size. I do. So what are you guys getting on the light? It tastes very Monty to me.
Yeah, very Monty, but it's a very it's
Kinda
not
like
extraordinary.
Chocolate, like
yeah,
chocolate milk.
it's not
cedar
extraordinary.
chocolate, like not very coffee-ish, but
Yeah.
more like
It's okay.
chocolate milk. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I got to say, I'm getting that twang. I'm getting that Montecristo
There's
twang.
the Monty twang.
The Monty twang is there. It feels like the little brother or step brother of the Monty 2 for sure. Very different than the Monty 1 that we had.
I think both the notes are spot on. I mean, to me, it's milk chocolate and that Monty Cuban twang.
Sure.
Not a ton of complexity. To me, it's like very straightforward.
Yeah.
I just did a double draw. Like I pulled it in my mouth and pulled again.
Mm.
And I got a blast of twang that was really nice.
Mm.
Like really nice. I like that.
I like the finish is actually smooth. I was worried when you said these are young that this might be a little harsh.
Yeah.
So far,
It's pretty good.
Not bad.
Yeah.
These come in a variety of different packaging. They come in a display box of 15 aluminum tubes, 5 cardboard packs of 3. They come in a display box of 15 cigars in 5 cardboard packs of 3. And these came out of a semi-Boit Nature box of 25 cigars. And they were introduced in 2004. They also had, in 2010, a special ceramic jar, which are very nice. I know you have a jar, Noella's.
I have jar
from
Noella's.
A. Chapman.
Yeah.
The jars are very cool, man.
Now
Do you
that
have jars?
I don't have
Rooster?
jars.
I like the jars.
these come in a jar.
They did in 2010. They did a ceramic jar of 25 cigars for Western Europe.
That would be a big jar.
It would
Yeah, thick jar.
be. It would be, yeah.
Unless maybe they double stack them or something.
That'd be cool. But then the feet would get damaged.
Yeah,
Unless
I
there's
don't
a cedar barrier.
There
maybe.
might be a little
I don't-
cedar
so-
thing in there.
Yeah, I don't think that.
The ones we're smoking did not come out of a dress box. Is
They
that right?
did come out of a
They
dress
did.
box.
They did. Got
These
it.
came out of
Really?
a semi-Boit Nature box.
Got
So the Edmundos that I have.
Not a dress box, a semi-Boit Nature box, like
That
a
I
D,
have
like a
at home.
D4.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
They did not come out of a dress box.
That's correct.
Okay.
Hmm.
There are not many Montes that are. Most Montes come in dress boxes, right?
Except for these.
I
So,
think that's
like
correct.
this is a
Yeah,
pretty
Monty
notable.
number 1, Monty number 3.
3, 2.
Two,
They're all
two
dress boxes.
dress boxes.
So the Edmundos.
So I'm just saying, to me, this stands out. Obviously, most of us, if not all of us, are not huge fans of dress boxes. So it's very curious to me that this is the one exception to that rule for Monty. It's very
It must be.
surprising.
Yeah.
It must be because it was released so much later. I mean, those other cigars were what 1960s, 1970s release.
And it's
this
not
was-
even like if this were the traditional Robusto size, I could see it's very easy probably to get those boxes, like the same boxes that Partagás would use or someone else. But this is longer, so they would have to special make these boxes. There are not a ton of
Mm.
Edmundo size or shaped cigars.
So the
Yeah.
Edmundos I have at home come in a different presentation. It's a yellow box. It's about 6 inches long, maybe 5.5 inches tall. And inside that are 4 3-pack boxes of these.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
I think there's 5 boxes in there.
5 boxes.
5 boxes of 3.
Come in 15.
Yeah, 15s.
Yeah,
15s. Yeah.
That's not a dress
Monty
box,
2s
though.
come like that too
Yeah,
in the cardboard packs.
I've never
Right.
seen that.
So they also make a double Edmundo.
I've heard
And they-
that's very good.
And they make a petite Edmundo.
Mm.
What I like about this cigar, the finish is sweet. The thing I don't love about the Petite Edmundo, and I think Rooster's given me one, Giz has given me one. I find the finish on that to be a little bitter. I don't get any sweet notes in that cigar, which I like. So this so far is more my speed. I'm actually enjoying this to start.
I'm really enjoying it as well.
Yeah,
This
it's
is-
really
yeah.
good for under a year.
It's a nice cigar.
And it plays into, like we've talked about, is this, as we reference all the time what Rob said about run of cigars, the run that Cuba's been on and these factories have been on in the last 3 years has been spectacular.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a bit skeptical about smoking a fresh Edmundo, but pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah,
good.
very good.
And it's smooth. I mean, I'm not detecting any ammonia or harshness.
Not yet.
The finish is really nice, as
Very
you mentioned.
nice,
But
yeah.
even on the light, that doesn't surprise me. But a half inch in, or a quarter of an inch in, it's still very, very smooth. The mouth
Sure.
feels really nice. There's not that lingering thing that happens sometimes for me with the Monty 2, where it kind of sticks around too long.
Yeah, I get my dessert notes on the finish here,
Yeah, same here. It's on the finish.
and
yeah.
it's on the tongue, and you experience it for a little bit after your final draw out. It's nice.
Yeah. And 5 of us are smoking this, and there's no burn issues. It's like,
Yeah,
no
razor
draw
sharp.
issues.
I'm having a little bit canoeing, tiny bit,
Really?
like little bit, but nothing to speak of.
It's definitely not a short finish at all. I think this
No,
is
it's great.
Like it's somewhere.
But it doesn't overstay its welcome.
No,
like
right.
it's to me, it's
that's
just
true.
it's perfect, and then it clears out.
Crazy thing, I have a lot of these, and it never makes my rotation. I just never reach for this. I have to think about it. Oh, I have those. Let me try it. It's not one of those things that I remember to smoke.
I think if it continues this way, this is something I'll pursue.
So, boys, we have done now 3 recap episodes of our trip to Cuba. First episode, we did food, culture, first impressions, overall experience, Tropicana show, etc. Our second episode, which was, I guess, 4 weeks ago now, was the recap and telling of our time at El Laguito, and with the production manager there, Danilo, and the amazing education we got. 2 weeks ago was episode 3 of the Cuba trip, was our visit to La Corona and our experience there, which was fantastic. And tonight we complete our Cuba recap with part 4, where we talk about the LCDHs, the different cigar shops we went to, the hotels, etc., and then we'll finish up with some festival business.
Multiple base camps we had there.
Yeah. So it's interesting because I had somebody ask me, why didn't we start with the festival? Because that's what everybody talks about this time of year. All the media, all the publications, that's what they're talking about, is what happens at that Habanos Festival. I was there for the last part of it. We'll talk about this a little later, but this stuff that we're discussing tonight, it's not as important to me as the stuff we discussed in episodes 1 through 3.
Right.
All right, so let's talk about some of the shops we went to, some of those experiences. I found those to be some really wonderful memories, sitting in some of the shops in Havana.
The very first day.
Yeah,
man.
you guys
Very
got
first
off the
afternoon.
First couple hours.
First couple of hours.
I mean,
you guys got off the plane and we were
Well, we had lunch.
right in it. Yep.
We got to the place, we checked in, left our luggage, got ready, went to that spot for lunch, which was really good. What was the name of the place again?
Mar Adentro.
Mar Adentro.
Yep.
And then from there, it was walking distance to Melia Cohiba,
Yeah.
which is a hotel.
in the sun,
In
which
the-
Bam was not so happy about.
That was great.
So I'll just take another
I
shower.
lost
when
10
get back.
pounds on the way over.
I mean, it was like
It was a half a mile.
not even. It was like a quarter of a mile. It was a quarter of a mile.
When I'm away,
Handing
I
out
wa-
balls on the way.
No physical activity, please.
That was an impressive.
We were handing out balls on the way, actually,
Yeah.
to the
impressive,
kids.
impressive spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The lounge was one of the better lounges that were in Cuba. I think it was quiet, and we were able to access that back room overlooking the Malecon.
Private room. Yeah.
And we tried you guys had the Santiago 20 rum.
Yeah, the one we did 2 weeks
We had
ago.
coffee. We had some espresso.
Yeah. Now that was your first taste of the Santiago 20.
It was incredible. I mean, if you could, we're on a plane. We're tired. I mean, we had a very early flight, and just the first cigar experience in Cuba is sitting there. I light up a D4, take a sip of Santiago 20, and I'm sitting there saying, "This is the best rum I've ever had in my life." I mean, I think it got 10s across the board when we reviewed it.
Yeah.
You have this amazing view Rooster's talking about, just like overlooking the water. And you're in a private room in Havana smoking a Cuban. And it's like it just doesn't
It's
get much better
incredible.
than that.
Yeah.
After his first sip, he said, "I'm moving here."
Yeah, I think that's right.
That's all it took.
The other thing that impressed me is even just leading up to getting inside the cigar shop there and lounge, just walking through the hotel. I mean, the Melia Cohiba, it's a nice hotel.
Nice
It's
hotel.
attractive.
I
It's
was
a nice
really
place.
impressed.
It's nicely appointed. Yeah, definitely.
So
And-
what's funny is when we were there in November, Bam and I, that hotel was closed.
Yes,
We-
we didn't get in there.
They were closed for COVID. Most of the better part, I guess the better part of 2.5 years, they were closed. And they just had opened, I think, a couple weeks prior to us being there, which was, the week before we were there was the Habanos Festival. So I'm assuming that was part of it. But yeah, like you said, the hotel was pretty dead. I mean, there really wasn't much going on.
Yeah. I'm surprised it was closed from 2020 was COVID and
To the end of 22.
till the end of 2022. I
Yeah,
mean,
man.
that's a long time.
Remember the humidor? How well stocked it was?
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice
they
humidor.
had-
It was
yeah.
impressive.
It was one of the
Yeah.
better humidors.
I
Yeah.
think so.
We actually wanted to go back there. We just didn't make it and wanted to check out inventory and get a couple of boxes, but
Yeah.
we just didn't have the time or
Yep.
whatever.
That's true.
Just didn't make it back.
Yeah, I liked walking into the bar as well. It was very nice. It was open, large. For the soccer fans, they had English Premier League on in the back.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was, so you felt like, all right, it's, coming into Cuba, you have all these impressions in your mind. You don't know what to expect. And then you hang out in a very nice hotel, in a very nice bar. And then you go to a private room and have excellent rum and great cigars. It
And
was
the
a wonderful
service, the
experience.
service there is
It
really
was very
spectacular.
good.
It was good.
Honestly, it would have been great to go back for an evening there
Mm.
and experience that. It would have been impeccable, I think.
Especially in that private room.
Oh, yeah.
We had
Or
to-
even out in a big room.
We had to leave a reason to return. I can't wait.
This is true.
So the second place that we went which was very, very memorable. And I know for Senator was borderline, if not absolutely emotional,
Sure it was.
It was absolutely emotional.
Yeah.
was the Partagás shop over by the Floridita,
Yes, sir.
where Hemingway used to hang out. The
Mhm.
new Partagás shop over there. We had a magnificent time there at the Partagás shop.
Yep.
So it's right downtown in central Havana, very close to, a lot of the happenings.
Yep.
Like I said, right next to the Floridita. It's right near the Parque Central, which we'll
Mhm.
talk about. But that is the heart and soul of Partagás for retail buyers,
Sure.
for people in Cuba who love Partagás. That is the place to be. The people there, Odalis, Herbierto, there's so many people there that are just Renee, who runs the place. Senator will tell a story
They're
about that.
spectacular.
It's just unbelievable service, and they are genuinely just so happy to see you every time.
They're also extremely hardworking.
Yes.
There's no dust collecting on anyone there. They're all active, stocking shelves, taking care of their customers. Renee walked in with a bottle of rum and just poured for everyone in our lounge where we were sitting. I mean, you can't beat that.
And not just for everyone. I mean, I think we might have talked about, we met this amazing guy there, Roberto.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Oh,
This
he's
guy's
amazing guy.
just
We're going
a
to have him on the podcast.
True
at some
Renaissance
point.
man.
incredible.
right?
Just a world traveler. The guy was, what, in his
80s.
80s.
I mean, he didn't even look in his 80s. Crazy. Guy was a cardiologist, knows everyone in the cigar business in every country you can think of. And we just kind of hit it off. And the funny thing is, so we're sitting in the Partagás lounge, and Roberto's sitting to my left. And I just remember looking over at him, and he's lighting his cigar.
Oh, yeah.
And I just start saying to all the guys, I'm like, look at this. This guy's a lizard. And he's lighting his cigar with his watch. It was the craziest
That was
thing.
one of the most amazing
Honestly,
things I've
though,
ever seen.
it was bizarre a bit, but it was very cool,
It was
too.
all, I'm just sitting there saying, like, only we would be stupid enough to do something like this. And the
we
fact that
found
there's
someone who's dumb.
I mean, it's like the fact that there's another person on this planet that would have like a watch lighter. I thought it was so cool.
It's also the way he was smoking his cigar.
That's
The
right.
cigar was in a
Yeah.
pipe.
Yeah.
It
He had a
wasn't
special-
directly in
he
his
had-
mouth.
yeah, he had a
had like
special pipe.
special pipe
That's
for
true.
a cigar.
For like petite Coronas or something.
But for a guy in his 80s to flip up his watch like James Bond and light a cigar,
It's amazing.
It's
that
cool.
it was just very cool.
Yeah.
I wish we caught a photo of that.
He was a lizard.
yeah,
he was pretty
big time.
badass.
Big time.
But I feel like, we really hit it off with him, and we were just talking about our passion for cigars and a little bit about the podcast. And he was telling us about all his kind of, global cigar travels.
He got emotional
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
Yeah,
a
he did.
moment or two there.
He did.
I think he was talking about Avo for some reason at
Yes.
that time.
He,
when
had- he
when
was very
got,
close
when
friends
he
with...
got emotional. I was trying to think,
Yeah,
like,
maybe.
what was he talking about that he got so emotional? I thought maybe it was when the floods like destroyed the
Mm.
crop, but I think it was about something about Avo.
Yeah, he was very close friends with Avo. Yeah.
He also owns his own factory
Yeah.
where he lives.
In
Argentina.
Argentina, yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Really crazy. And then I feel like we kind of hit it off, and I think Renee knew him, and that sort of, I think, warmed Renee up to all of us. And like Bam said, he just walks in and he just points at everybody and goes, rum? And we're all just, yes. We all just nod quickly.
Can I just say something? If anyone would have said no, I would have punched that guy right in the face. I
I
would have
don't-
just punched him right in the face.
I don't think you would have had to. I think Renee would have.
I think
Renee
so.
is a no nonsense kind
Oh,
of guy.
absolutely.
And then he just comes back in the room with a bottle of rum and a bunch of glasses, and he pours some rum out on the floor. I think in honor of like Partagás.
Yeah.
And people
And,
people that have gone before us.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool.
And then he poured all of us a nice, very healthy pour, and we got to toast with him, which was really cool. And I think the best part of our experience with Renee is just he's sitting there starting to chat with us, and he talks about how he's always wanted there to be a guest book in the Partagás shop.
Oh, yeah.
And he finally went out and bought a book that he wanted people to sign. And he said it would be his honor to have us be the first to sign the guest book in the
Very
Partagás
cool.
shop. And so Roberto signs, and all of us got to write a message. And that's honestly where I got a little bit emotional, because I think for anyone who's listened to this podcast would know, Partagás is my favorite cigar brand. And I wrote in my note to them, Partagás has been part of every single special moment in my life. It's my wedding cigar, my birth of my son, so many special memories. So it was so cool to be able to thank the people that make this all possible. And I mean, that book, I'm sure will live on for a very long time there. It's
True.
pretty cool. You'll
It's
see
true.
the lizards on page 1 and 2.
Yeah, we're right up front.
Yeah.
That was a very nice honor.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
you know, Bam and I had spent some time with Renee in November. It was during the festival week for Partagás, so it was a little chaotic.
He was under pressure.
He was under a lot of pressure. There was a lot of people there, and certainly a lot of heavy hitters that go in there and buy, non-Americans who go in there and buy, you know, dozens, if not hundreds of boxes
Yeah.
at a given time and take them home. So, you know, for us, we don't do that because we can't. You know, we can't take that much stuff home. So, you know, it was
I
nice
love that
to.
Gizmo said, because we can't. He would happily take 400 boxes of Partagás home.
I would.
All Lucy's.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
By the way, how cool is it to sit in the Partagás shop and light up a Lusitania?
That was my first stick I lit
know.
there.
You lit up a Lusitania. I lit up an 898.
I think I don't remember what I lit
I think
up.
you might have had a P2.
At a D4.
Possibly. A P2. Yeah,
yeah.
possibly.
Yeah. How, like, just what did you have, Rooster?
I think it was an 898.
I think that's true.
Yeah.
I think you and I had 898s. But to sit in that Partagás lounge, drinking rum with Renee, having this wonderful conversation
Yeah.
with Roberto,
Mm-hmm.
and smoking Partagás.
So back
I
in
mean,
November
incredible.
when we went, it was hustle and bustle. It was crowded. People from all over the world were there. Canada, Japan, Europe, you name it. So I didn't get emotional when I first walked in. I was just enamored.
It was almost overwhelming.
It was
just
overwhelming because
overstimulated.
you don't get a chance to walk into a cigar shop and it's full of Cuban cigars, and it's you're walking into the Partagás shop. It's a destination, and it was really it was very special. And honestly, coming back in the second time with the rest of the group, I just held back, and I wanted to hear their experience and see how they reacted to it. It was pretty cool.
I just liked how much more chill it was this time.
Oh yeah,
You know, how much more relaxed.
Very laid back.
You know,
Well,
everybody wasn't crazy.
very
That's the
laid
big
back.
thing for me. So honestly, as much as I wanted to visit the Partagás shop, my expectation was that it was going to be very crowded. So I was never even, I wanted to go, but I wasn't that excited because I thought it would just be mobbed, and that's not the experience I was looking for. And I remember the lounge, you kind of walk through the shop and it's tucked away in the back. And as soon as we got to the back and just looked around the corner into the lounge area, I couldn't believe there was one guy, Roberto, sitting there. And it's like the whole place was ours. It was amazing. So I can't think of honestly a better experience we could have had. And I think that's what allowed us to have like a really meaningful conversation with Roberto, what allowed us to chat more with Renee. It just made the experience.
The coffee was great as well.
Yeah, they make
Yeah.
great coffee there.
Great coffee. you know.
Even the woman who was serving there,
Sony.
she's so nice.
Amazing.
Just such a great job. Just everything there, start to finish. Like I just really appreciated how I think because we know in Havana, sometimes the service is great. In other establishments, particularly if it's government owned, it's not. And it's just such a welcoming experience, like start to finish there, while a very intense one in that you can see everybody there takes tremendous pride in the work they do. They don't mess around. It was just cool to see.
You know,
And
also what was cool was like all the transactions there were done in dollars, like for us, and we actually got change back in dollars, not in
That's true.
Yeah.
not
Yeah,
in Cuban
that's
peso.
true.
I haven't.
Remember.
I didn't see that anywhere else.
No, only there.
Yeah, well, a lot of the other LCDHs are government owned, you
Mhm.
know, like government run, government owned. So I think they make an exception for Partagás because there's so many Americans that go there. I don't know why that is because it's all operated by the same company, but
Yeah.
for some reason they make it a little easier. They don't need you to use your the MLC card like they do at other places.
The other cool thing when you visit these shops, and we actually didn't see this at Malia Cohiba, where we kind of started this conversation, is that they'll have a roller sitting there, rolling cigars. And I forget who the roller is. Our friend who's been to Cuba many times had mentioned there's like a great roller at Malia Cohiba, Juanita, who was
Yeah,
not there.
She
when
was
we
not
were
there that week. You know why? Because I think the week prior, she probably was rolling
was there
so
for the
many
festival.
cigars for the festival folks that she probably took some time off.
That makes sense. But it was great when we were at the Partagás shop. The famous La China was
La
sitting
China.
right
Yes.
there, and for me, it was very cool because I had just heard about her, and they have a mural like painted on the wall of her,
Right behind where she
behind
sits.
her, and it's just like, I mean, I have these photos, and it just felt surreal. You're like looking at this person in the flesh, actually rolling cigars, people surrounding her, tons of tourists taking photos and videos, and then right on the wall behind her is this like beautiful mural of her. It's very cool to see.
It's a, you know what? I think I said this to you guys when we were sitting in the shop, but you know, she had worked she was at the top of Partagás for so long. at the factory. She's one of the top rollers there. Just think about how many of the amazing Partagás cigars that we've smoked over the years that were probably or potentially rolled by her. You know, and then you're sitting there with her, you know, watching her roll at the shop, you know, making custom rolls with a custom Partagás LCDH band on them.
Isn't she
You know, it's
officially
very special.
retired?
Yeah, she just does that at the shop. She only works on custom rolls at the shop now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, Partagás shop is definitely a highlight place. If you go to Cuba, absolutely get to
It's
the
a
Partagás
must.
shop. The other interesting thing about it is that's actually the second Partagás shop. The first one was in the now defunct or abandoned
Partagás factory.
Partagás factory. The shop was actually in the factory on the first floor, but you know, since they had to close that for safety reasons, the factory moved to a new location, and then the shop moved to an isolated location over by the Floridita. So that's the second place. It's only a few years old.
And the last thing I'll say on the Partagás shop, I think even the bar is well appointed. They had everything we would need. The ventilation was pretty good. I don't remember it being overly smoky in there.
Yep.
And I say that because you don't get that at every single place, right? For as much as I love Malia Cohiba, I did feel that room gets a bit smoky. The bar was great. Obviously, we found Santiago 20 there, so we had
Oh,
no
yeah.
complaints, but that's not the case necessarily everywhere.
Did you guys find the Partagás shop to be on the smaller side, smaller than you anticipated?
It was.
Right.
It's surprisingly
So
small.
that is the one knock.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, when it's crowded, it would be, I think, a
Oh.
little
It's
tough.
tough.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's
so
tough.
when we were there in November, I also felt it was really tiny compared to what I was, imagining it to be. But when it's not crowded, though, it's very cozy.
I mean, we
Oh,
spent hours there.
we
Yeah,
did. I think we each had 2 cigars.
I think so.
Right? You had
least.
a Lucy. We all had long ones, and then,
And then I had that LG. Which one was it? LGC number 2.
yeah, MDO number 2.
MDO number 2. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had an 898 after the Lucy.
Amazing. All right, boys. Before we move on, how are we feeling about the Montecristo Edmundo right now?
I like it.
Coming in the second, third, I think it's really, really damn good.
I'm
Yeah,
really enjoying
it's
it.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see Senator's got an ash about the
Yeah.
same size as mine. Let's see if it.
I mean, I have to say, we were talking about how rustic this cigar kind of looked, and the construction wasn't really that impressive pre-light. It's burning flawlessly.
It's a sharp burn.
It is.
It's been really good, and the flavor.
Mm.
It's not a. It is at best a medium cigar.
I think it's mild to medium.
That's
total.
where
Yeah.
I'm going. I
Yep.
completely agree with
I
that.
agree with that. It's very pleasant, though.
It is. And I just love, like, there's like a dessert-like finish about it that I really, really like that I don't always associate with Monty. I mean, honestly, blind, this smokes a little more like an Upman to me. But I like that. This works.
What are you getting on the smoke, Rooster? Because you're sensitive to that, and I'm getting something specific.
So this is a lot like the Monty 3. It's like the same DNA. You get like the sweet notes from the Monty 3 that I'm getting out of this.
Any floral on the smoke? I'm getting that a little
I'm
bit
getting a little floral.
at the burn
Yeah.
line, just a bit.
I would say it's primarily either chocolate or coffee.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say milk chocolate. I mean, I can't really tell what floral note that you're getting, but
Right.
but maybe.
Could
Yeah.
be a sweetness of some kind.
It's really, really
It's
good.
very pleasant though.
Yeah. Smooth.
I have to say,
No edges on it.
our pairing with this, I was critical of Bam. I'll just own it.
That's a very
And
kind way to put it.
So
What-
for the listener,
To the listener, what else is new?
Senator was getting a little hot with Bam coming in here with this
here's
bourbon
the thing.
tonight.
We're smoking a Cuban cigar tonight, and Bam pulls up with a bottle of rye. Now, rye
Pulls
Oh,
up.
it's a double rye, by
I
the
mean,
way.
a double rye. Rye can
Why?
Why? I don't know.
rye can be a more aggressive spirit, something that I would more readily pair with a New World cigar. So I
Mhm.
was very skeptical to start, but I will say there's a sweetness in this rye
With the ice.
with the ice that opens it up.
Yeah.
That actually works with this cigar.
So I'm only going by recommendations of friends that love this spirit. And they said you can't drink it without ice, but you put a few cubes in and let it sit. It will get really nice and smooth and sweet. And it goes with practically any cigar.
So let's
Very easy to drink.
let's tell the listener what we have here. It's the High West double rye blend of straight rye whiskeys. What I find interesting about this is it's made in Park City, Utah,
That's right.
which is pretty cool.
Yep. And the guys that recommended it are big fans. They live there. They've got things happening there. They're here. So they go back and forth.
How's that even possible? I thought Utah was a dry state. but-
I don't know. Very interesting.
Yeah.
How much was that?
It's
It's cheap.
very $32.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's really cheap.
It drinks very well.
It does. It really does.
So the flavor notes that they call out on the back: unique balance profile of cinnamon, ginger snaps, juniper, mint sprigs, and fresh wildflower honey.
I get some of those.
I don't know. I think
Not
that's,
all of
I
it.
think that's a little bit of a stretch.
Mhm.
I mean, it's pretty good, but
It's good.
for $32.
It's
High
definitely good with
West.
small sips. I think when you take a slightly bigger swig,
Yeah.
it's like
It's
it does
true.
get a bit harsh, but it's all good.
That's true.
I'm enjoying it.
You
No
can't take it.
complaints.
So the usual pagoda swig can't go here.
No, not at all.
Well, the thing that's also crazy, it's 46%
46%,
alcohol,
yeah.
92 proof.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's obviously it packs a punch, but when you put some ice in this, it really mellows out in a way that some higher proof spirits, even with ice, still kind of keep a bite, and this doesn't do
It's
that
true.
at all.
It's true.
I think it's actually a really nice pairing for the cigar tonight.
I
Agreed.
agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nice job,
So,
Bam.
Bam, I
Yeah.
take it back.
There you
Wow.
go. Once in a while, you get a gem.
You mentioned Upman as a potential flavor match for what you're getting out of this cigar. What's interesting is one of the other cigars that comes in this specific size, and I think it might be the only other one out of the regular production Habanos catalog, is the H. Upman Royal Robusto that comes in those 10 count boxes. I think that's an LCDH.
It is.
It has the second band.
Have you ever had that?
Yeah, I have a box. The two I've had out of it
Rooster?
are hit or miss.
I've been very curious about that cigar
It's
to
a
try.
box of 10.
I've never had it.
I think I've had it, and I actually wasn't crazy about
Yeah,
it.
it's hit or miss from what I've had. I've had two, and they were
Interesting.
both. One was pretty good, and one was not.
Interesting.
So maybe they just need some time. But so back to Havana. The next place we went was the
Park Central.
Parque Central, which is an Iberostar property. Is actually not. They don't actually have a lounge there. They just allow you to smoke on the second, or I guess the
The
like a half
balcony.
floor. It's like a
Mezzanine.
balcony, mezzanine.
Yeah.
When you come in, you're not allowed to smoke on the ground floor where they have a little restaurant. You can get some, bar drinks and coffee and whatnot. So on the mezzanine, you're able to go up there and smoke. And we actually spent quite a bit of time there during the week. It was very comfortable, relaxing.
I like that spot.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
it's
was
a
a
good
beautiful
spot.
entrance.
Me
I mean,
too.
so you
Yeah.
walk in
Me
with the
too.
spiral staircases going up. You felt like you were in a really nice hotel. It just there was music playing.
Right.
There was
Those
a good
live
vibe.
music,
Yeah.
Service was very good.
Yeah, very European vibe.
Yeah.
I agree. But
Um,
that was the coolest part. There are not many hotels. It doesn't matter where you are that like in a lobby, essentially, even though you're in the mezzanine raised up, obviously, that you can smoke a cigar. So it felt unique to be able to sit there looking down at all these people doing whatever they're doing in the lobby area and not getting yelled at for it. Just be able to enjoy yourself. It was
It's
great.
true.
Yeah, we all had agua de gas.
Agua con gas.
con gas.
Agua con gas.
Agua con gas. No, I
Can we translate that for the listeners? This doesn't sound so weird.
it's
gassy water.
sparkling
bubbly
water.
water.
Sparkling water.
Carbonated water.
carbonated water.
The cappuccinos were
Oh,
good.
boy.
Yeah, and the drinks were fine too.
Yeah.
The one thing that was disappointing is that every time we ended up there, the LCDH that's there was closed.
Now, we did get in there in November,
We went twice in November.
and that's a pretty good shop.
It was okay.
It's okay.
The stock was decent.
They had a lot of things you can look at and
Yeah,
buy.
it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Actually, that's where we ended up with those pretty reasonably priced Cohiba Robustos.
Yes.
They were like $25 or something.
Yep.
in
yep.
November. But I mean, that's one of my favorite places to smoke in Havana, even though it's not a designated place to
It's
smoke.
just so comfortable and
Yeah,
wide
the,
open.
the couches are great. It's just fun up there. The vibe is good, and the ventilation is surprisingly good.
Yeah.
So that's
know?
not a state-run hotel?
No, it's run by Iberostar. Yeah.
Hmm.
Which you can tell the minute you walk in that
Yeah,
place.
Exactly.
Everybody's so friendly. I mean, ironically, our translator for a part of the trip,
Works
we
there.
met there.
He works at the concierge desk.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, which was very helpful.
Yeah.
So then after the Parque Central, the next stop was the Cohiba Atmosphere, which is in the strip, I guess, of the high-end tourist attraction mall thing,
Kind of.
which I guess has, 6 or 8 stores?
Yep.
Mont Blanc and some others. So Cohiba Atmosphere is definitely the nicest and newest looking.
Yeah.
But, man, we walked in there.
The air conditioning was broken.
Air conditioning wasn't working. It was 100 degrees in there.
Yeah. What'd you
And
guys think of the humidor?
They also had no water.
No water.
No water. That's
They
true.
were out
Yeah.
of water.
The humidor was decent. We actually all bought some cigars there.
Yeah.
That was the best part of that place.
I
the
like
humidor.
that little humidor.
We got some. I mean, you guys got boxes of QD Claros, right? That was there.
No, I bought singles there. I
Yeah,
got
but
the
singles,
Claros at the next place we're going to talk
okay.
about.
And that's where I bought mine too.
Yeah.
But I did buy
I
a
think-
few
yeah.
singles there.
Yeah. Pagoda.
But yeah,
got some.
great singles. They had a lot of
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
A lot of stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
And
they
they
were,
smoked great. They smoked well.
They did. I mean, to your point, I bought singles of QD 50s
Right.
that I was lighting up every morning on our trip. They
Yeah,
smoked
you smoked
great.
them every night.
I love that.
every
as a
I
morning.
morning
think
smoke.
I grabbed one of those from you. They're really good.
They're good.
Yeah. That was the first time I had that, by the way,
Delicious.
on that trip. Yeah.
Yeah, so Cohiba Atmosphere, we had a nice experience there in November.
Oh, it was great.
It's just
I'm sorry.
It was great.
It's so funny. So Gizmo mentions like the newest, nicest lounge. I don't think it's a very nice lounge.
No.
And the funny thing is,
Oh, is that a surprise?
I agree with Senator.
no,
there.
but look, we were just talking about the Parque Central. That's not even supposed to be a cigar lounge.
No.
And that upstairs is set up in a way that is like perfect for cigar smoking.
Mm-hmm.
To me, when you walk in Cohiba Atmosphere, and I said this to our friend who has been there many times that helped us with some of the trip planning, and he's had the same reaction. It feels like you are walking into a shopping mall and there just happens to be seating there. It does not feel like a dedicated cigar. It's like this little strip of seating. And the funniest part is it's like 100 degrees, all that. There's no water. Okay, if we overlook all of it, we attempt to sit down in these chairs, and all I remember is this couch that Gizmo sits on.
I have a photo. I have a photograph of that.
And his feet can't touch the floor.
No, they're 2 feet off the floor.
And, I mean, it's not that
He
Gizmo
looks-
is like
he looks
this
like a
tiny
toddler.
short guy,
I'm
but
5'9". I'm 5'9". I felt like I was like 2 feet tall.
Yeah, in that chair, you were a toddler.
it was hysterical.
and it was a huge sofa. Like they had like I think 3 or 4 in a row.
Yeah.
It was
It's
like a
just
big
like-
long sofa.
All of us
yeah.
could have
The
sat on that
seat
couch together.
cushions could fit like a 700-pound They were just so wide in every direction. Like you were so far back into the couch, your feet were nowhere near the floor. The whole setup was just very funny. So even sitting there, if I was going to tough it out and sweat to enjoy a cigar, nothing was to me conducive to really enjoying anything. But the shop was at least good to purchase.
It actually looked like seating in a mall.
Mm.
You know, like inside the mall when you walk around. There's like little seats and stuff. That's kind of what it felt like.
I'll be honest,
Exactly.
though. Back in November, the air conditioning was working great, and we were tucked away in a corner to the left of the bar.
Yeah, we had a
So
better experience.
We did. You don't have visual access to the storefront, which eliminates that whole retail type experience. It was great. It was very
just-
nice.
It doesn't feel like a cigar lounge. That's
No,
I
overall,
guess,
you're right. Overall, you're right.
When
yeah.
I heard you guys describe it as like new and modern, I was thinking of like a Davidoff lounge. Like I would describe a Davidoff lounge as like new, modern. Like it's not old.
That's a good
ever.
point. That's a fair point.
And that's kind of what I expected to get. Like you think of the Davidoff lounge in Brooklyn or any of these places, it just totally threw me off walking in there. It just didn't feel like a lounge. It felt like I was in a mall.
That's true.
Yeah, so our best experience there was certainly the humidor. They were very accommodating, even though we didn't have MCL cards. They made it happen for us, which was very nice, but we walked out of there pretty quickly. So then we went to the government-owned Havana Libre, if you remember, which was, we had to get in the car and go across town. So that is the former Hilton that was taken over during the Revolution. And I don't think a single thing has been done to modernize or improve that hotel since the Revolution.
No, absolutely not. No.
I mean, the LCDH there is pretty nice, and they have a stacked humidor.
Yeah.
And the lounge is great.
That's where I had my first Cohiba Lancero
That's
in
true.
November.
That's true.
We definitely didn't see that when we were there.
I also had a Sir Winston there.
It was like $25.
Both were priced under $25.
Yeah.
I kick myself to this day for not getting a box of each.
I will say, until you said that, I completely forgot that was government owned, because that is the one place that I will say, despite being government owned, I think we had a very nice experience.
We did.
The lounge is great there. We were able to go into a back room, which was fantastic. They actually stayed open for us, if you remember.
Yeah.
They were actually closed. We were knocking on the door. We saw a friend in there, and they let us in. And then we stayed quite a bit longer. But there's like a separate back room through double doors that that they open for you. If they're
VIP.
able, VIP Lizard Lounge, and
LIP.
LIP.
And yeah, there's an amazing bust of Don Alejandro Romeña's head that I just love. A beautiful statue bust of him.
Yeah, that's cool.
And very comfortable. We had a great time in there.
Yeah, they had a couple of private rooms over there. I think the inventory was really probably the most, right? I think of all the shops we went
I would
to.
say so. I think that
Yeah,
and Malia
yeah.
Cohiba were probably neck and neck.
I agree with that.
But Havana Libre, I mean, we were there when a guy was clearing out with like 300 boxes back to Hong Kong.
Literally.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, he
We-
was
and we met
buying
that
a
guy.
ton,
yeah.
buying a ton of stuff.
Oh yeah.
Um,
And that's where I got a box of QD Coronas Claros.
Yep.
Same.
Great price.
Me
I
too.
mean, it was excellent.
Got a box of Short to Punch there too.
the thing that's interesting when you talk about price is, despite the worldwide leveling of price, as we've discussed, so many times on the podcast from Habanos, in Havana itself, the pricing is actually quite inconsistent from shop to shop. I mean, especially in November when we were there, we would see at one shop a Cohiba Robusto was 60
Oh dude,
or 80, and then you go to another one that was an LCDH and it was 20.
it was very unusual.
It was odd how inconsistent they were even inside Havana.
Yeah, and at that
with updating
location,
the prices.
there weren't any Los Lanceros or Sir Winston anywhere except for this place where we were.
So yeah, that hotel is a mess though. I mean, it's
Old
can you-
terrazzo floors.
I mean, what kind of can you give some perspective,
I mean,
Bam?
Bam,
on
this sounds like a great client for you.
Oh, I would love that client.
He would
That-
never get paid.
you never get paid, but
That's
you love
true.
to work.
Unless I moved, I would live there. I would live. I'd have my entire team there. They would love to be there.
Bam would just want to be paid in cigars. He'd be fine.
Well,
We
many
could
other
do that.
things too.
You mean rum? Anyway.
Oh yeah.
So can you kind of paint a picture of the Havana Libre from an architectural standpoint, or
It's an
because it's
old-
just run down?
it's
I
an
don't even know how to
old-
describe
So
it.
if anyone's out there that really cares about this and wants to look up on the internet what a postmodern building looks like, so it's a postmodern building, very old and dilapidated. The floors are terrazzo. The stairs are they got a central stair, steel spine with treads that are built into it. You don't really do that anymore. The terrazzo's out of date, and a lot of old art sculptures, some architectural sculptures. It was, it's very dated.
That to me, from a timestamp, like it's
It's
very
true-
clear
True timestamp.
when it was built and when it was forgotten.
Probably built in
a
the
way.
70s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
No-
Way before that.
Well, that building's a bit newer than the other ones.
Really?
I think so.
So I
70s.
wonder when the Hilton thing happened, because it
Oh, I don't
must
know.
have been. It must have been. I don't know what
Well,
the
that's a
year
branding
was.
change, I guess.
Yeah. Well, they took over. They took
Yeah.
the hotel from the Hilton.
Right,
but,
right.
Yeah. So now, this one's going to upset some listeners. Our experience at the Hotel Nacional.
Oh boy, you guys are picky.
Jesus.
Listen,
When in Rome, guys.
it's a beautiful place from the outside, and that's about it.
Mhm.
Agreed.
Grand entrance. It looks beautiful.
It's
yeah.
incredible. But then when you go and you want to sit down and have an experience there,
Mhm.
to me, despite what, again, this is
I
going to
know.
upset listeners who've been to Havana or want to go. I just think that experience is the weakest of everything we've discussed so far.
It's a dump.
It's a dump.
There's no other way to say it. I'm sorry.
Well, it's in better shape of the spot that we were just at,
Yeah, well, it is the government's primo hotel,
I guess.
but they
It's
don't
in better
have.
shape, but the service sucks.
And the
furniture,
seating.
furniture sucks.
This furniture is
awful.
awful. Yeah.
Awful.
Yeah, that's
And the
true.
drinks.
That's true.
The
Yeah.
pours are bad. They don't have anything.
No.
They have ham and cheese sandwiches with no ham,
No.
and that's it. You listeners think that we're joking. We're not.
No.
It's
But honestly, we didn't take it. So you and I walked the grounds when we were there in November. That was actually quite nice. Come on.
yeah, but
I
I'm
walked
saying-
around the whole place. I
Did
was
you
in
walk
some
the
ballroom
yard?
with like a private party
No,
going
no,
on.
no,
I
no.
wasn't even supposed to be in.
I
I
mean-
checked out everything.
Did you toast the bride and groom?
I sure did.
The backyard, that yard area. If you walk further down, the views to the Malacones are actually very.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like the location of it is great.
Yeah.
And sure, there's nice views back there. The setup could be perfect. That's like the most disappointing part. If like structurally it didn't work, that would be one thing. It's
Yeah.
beautiful from the outside. Its location is perfect.
The
It's just
structure itself is actually very nice.
It
It's
is,
bad use of space.
space. That's
Yeah.
the thing. Like
And-
that outdoor patio we're sitting on.
Could be
I'm
done
sorry
so
if
much
you
better.
put
You're right. You're not wrong.
even cheap outdoor furniture out there, not anything expensive. We're not expecting something crazy there, but just I mean, honestly, those little folding chairs that people sit in at like ball games at parks are more comfortable than
Yeah.
the shit we were sitting on.
I agree.
It's like these
Yeah.
massive wicker
Bulky,
chairs,
very bulky.
massive, like
Yeah.
one chair the size of like a love seat, basically, and these cushions that did nothing. Basically, I'm not even sure why they were on them.
Anything government run there is really not a place to be.
To me,
And that's the problem.
But you got to check out the national.
you have that's
You
my
have
point,
to.
Yeah.
Pagoda. You
Oh, yeah.
have to, if you're going to Havana, you have to go to the Hotel Nacional. I think it's really interesting that the back of the Hotel Nacional is right on the Malecon, and that's where the Bay of Pigs incident happened.
That's right.
They have the cannons back there. You
Yeah.
can take a tour in English. The history, the view, the beauty of the actual hotel, you got to see it. If you can find an ashtray at the ashtray desk and get a Hotel Nacional ceramic ashtray, great. But as far as a smoking experience, sitting down and enjoying your time there, that is really, as Senator so eloquently said, it's a dump.
You're not wrong.
And I think the biggest problem with it, arguably, is what Rooster said a minute ago. The service is atrocious. I mean, it's like, look,
They're
we
rude.
we went to a
They're
few
rude.
government-run places while we were there. We had breakfast at that place.
The
like,
Presidente.
yeah,
Horrible.
We know what to expect, right? It's not going to be the most friendly service, but they weren't outright rude when we were at that hotel.
No,
At Nacional, I mean, our server was
very rude.
completely rude. The entire he had no desire to serve us whatsoever. I just couldn't believe it's just hard. It ruins the experience.
Giz, did you take them up to the Cigar Lounge? Did
No.
you go up there? No.
Yeah. Oh,
No,
yeah.
Giz
Senator and I went.
when I say I explored everything there, I did explore
So,
everything.
yeah.
Giz and I walked up
What did
there,
you think of that space?
but they wouldn't let
They wouldn't let us in. It was-
Americans in.
Yeah, we were not allowed in there at the time.
So when we were there in November, I went in and I sat down with our European people that we met on our first November trip.
Yeah.
So I sat there for 20 minutes. I thought the space was actually very nice.
Yeah, we were going to try to go in there as
Yeah.
a replacement for sitting on the outside in the back,
Mm,
but they wouldn't let us in.
Or I think they told us they took, was it credit card only?
It
or
was
something?
MLC only.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
which we don't have, so we
Right,
weren't able to
Okay.
go up there.
So they also have an LCDH at the Hotel Nacional, in the basement.
That's right. That's
Not
a little
great.
weird.
Yeah, it's not stocked. It's definitely weird. It's not stocked well.
Yeah.
It's just again, if you go there for the history and to say you were there and to check it out, but it's not a destination to smoke.
True.
Even that indoor cigar lounge there that Giz and I walked in, had we been able to go there, it was dead. It was sterile. There was nothing interesting.
Was
about
there
it.
anyone in there?
Like
No. Just
No.
two
Some
servers.
people followed behind us, and
Ugh.
maybe they were going to sit
Oh,
down.
that's
That was
weird.
it.
That's strange. It's a shame.
I think the best part was like leaving the Hotel Nacional
Sure.
and getting into that black Thunderbird from 1950.
Yeah, that's right.
That was a really cool experience.
was
very
That was
cool.
the same car that Michelle Obama and John Kerry
Right.
rode in.
Supposedly.
That was
Yeah.
cool.
Right.
Yeah,
That was great.
nostalgic.
It's awesome.
Even the drinks. Do you remember? Some of us
Yeah,
got beer.
somebody
The
got a
beer was
peanut-
warm.
It was
was
warm.
warm.
The beer was warm. How hard is it to just bring out a cold beer?
It's strange in November.
What does Juan Moya say?
He says a lot of things. I don't know.
You in Havana,
Oh,
man.
hey, you in Havana, man.
I love that.
I fucking love that guy. I miss that guy. I got to see that guy. I got it.
He's great. Cuba is muy complicado, as they say. Very complicated. Expecting a cold beer. I'm sorry, Senator.
Mm.
Everywhere else,
Not at the Hotel
They were ice
Nacional.
cold.
Yeah.
Everywhere else.
Yeah.
Didn't somebody get a pina colada?
Yeah,
think I
someone
did.
Yeah, I guess did.
Yeah, it
how,
was
how was
horrible.
that?
It was horrible.
Very
It's
sweet.
horrible. So sweet. It was terrible.
Mhm.
So yeah, we the government run places were not great.
No.
They were not great. And I think we covered all of the different smoking spots that we hit, correct? Did we
Yeah.
miss any?
I don't think so.
I think that's
Yeah,
it.
other than our rooftop, I think
Yeah.
that was all of them.
Which was fantastic too.
So the rooftop is where certainly I think we smoked the most cigars consistently.
Yeah.
Breakfast, and then we go up there at the end of the night and have a few cigars. I mean, it was just, we were lucky that we were on the Malecon where our house was. So
Yeah.
the view at night, it was very cool. It wasn't a terrible amount of wind.
Great breeze though.
Yeah, we were
Very
just
slight.
a perfect amount of breeze, and we were able to really enjoy the rooftop.
Yeah, it's a different
know.
experience from staying downtown Havana.
Yes,
It's quiet, more suburban.
yeah. So we stayed in Vedado, and the first time we went, we stayed in Old Havana.
That's right.
Actually, kind of closer to the Partagás shop and some of the restaurants we
Four
talked
blocks
about.
from the Havana from the Partagás shop.
Yeah, and some of the restaurants we talked about on the
Yeah.
first of these 4
So
episodes.
how was it different? I mean, it was just kind of loud, like hustle and bustle.
No, it was the
or-
difference was in Old Havana, you could walk out your front door and quite literally walk to almost all of the places that we just talked about today.
It's more of an urban setting
Yeah.
where this was suburban.
Well, that's why I said this on a prior episode, but for the listener who didn't necessarily listen to that, my take on that experience, not having stayed where you have, but obviously of being there and knowing what that would be like, if I were traveling to Havana by myself or maybe with just one other friend, I would stay
Old Havana.
in Old Havana where these guys did in November. Everything is right there outside of your apartment or flat. It's easily accessible and it's more lively. You're not there with a big group or anything, so you kind of want to be part of the action.
It's true.
If you're going with a larger group of friends, you kind of want, at the end of the day, you've been doing all this touristy stuff. You just kind of want to get back to your place and just have a cigar among that group. That's where I think like Vedado was absolutely perfect.
It was perfect.
Yeah. So maybe next time we go, or even if a listener wants to go, they should try to go to the tobacco growing area of Vinales. That
Yeah.
would be an interesting tour.
Right, which
You
we
can
haven't
do
done.
it-
In
do it
Pinar
on
del
the-
Rio?
Pinar
Pinar del
The
Rio.
whole region is called the Pinar del
Yeah.
Rio, right?
Yeah.
And also some of the beach areas like Varadero.
Another
and,
thing we haven't done. Yeah.
I'm
yeah.
not into the beach scene. I'm not going
No,
to
but,
Havana
but
for
a listener
beaches.
might be.
No
Okay.
Speedo for you?
And-
No.
No?
and-
Okay.
And apparently you can access, there's some LCDH stores there as well that they might have more stock.
On the beach?
Yeah, the beach towns might have
What?
more. Yeah.
He's saying basically the further you get outside of Havana, right?
Ah.
Because
the
the
better
tourists don't
stock
really
is gonna
make it there, so
That's
they have
interesting.
better stock.
It's like, think of the festival, right? Everybody who comes in for the festival,
Oh,
they're
yeah.
all just
They're
buying everything up in
depleting
Havana.
everything. Yeah.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
if you get outside of there, there's going to be more inventory.
Interesting.
So, boys, a few more trips to
Oh, sure.
Havana.
No doubt about it.
Gotta make it happen.
every year.
Going back to our first episode where we talked about this trip, like the cigars obviously are a reason to go back. The rum's a reason to go back. The experience is a reason to go back. But the people, like,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
made so many friends in
Yeah.
such a short amount of time. Like Bam is sitting there saying, I miss that guy talking about Juan Moya. Like,
Oh, yeah.
there are people there that we need to see again.
I miss Ivan, our host,
Yeah.
Yeah.
tremendously.
And I think there's a misconception about Havana that it's maybe not safe.
Yeah, that's just
Mm.
not
And
true.
we felt
Yeah,
very safe.
sure.
I've never felt safer.
And also
Me
that
too.
maybe there was no food or resources. I think most of
that's more for the local people,
Of
but
course.
at the restaurants, I mean, there was
Yeah.
no shortage of food or
Yeah.
drinks or anything else.
Going back to what Senator said, the people, I think when you leave there, you really appreciate what you have when you come home. There's no reason for any of us to really ever complain about our lives. When you go there and you see what they don't have, it's tremendous.
And you see how resilient they are,
Yeah.
and how.
We've
The-
talked about this in
Yeah,
nauseam, but it's important.
But it's
to know.
important. I think we could say that we should say this almost in every episode that we
Oh,
talk about Cuban
yeah.
cigars. It's a culture of need, not a culture of want, which I think is really something that we can learn from. We talked about our friend Elias, who's part of the Santeria movement, and some of his comments about Americans think they have everything, but
Mhm.
we have so many problems here that they don't have there. Everybody has their own unique set of problems, but
Sure.
they're just incredibly resilient, powerful people.
But they have culture. They have access to certain arts. They have access to music that we'll never see here in the States.
Yeah.
And that enriches their lives in a different way.
Totally.
It's tremendous.
So I held off on talking about my experience at the Habanos Festival, simply because it's probably the least important thing that I experienced in my trips to Cuba ever. It's honestly, I'm kind of glad that we're anonymous, that we don't use our real names, so that I can confidently and honestly and confidentially talk about my feelings on the Habanos Festival, because it's an absolute travesty. It's a joke. They should be embarrassed and ashamed of themselves.
Well, the Partagás Festival, I'm sure, wasn't much better,
Well,
comparatively speaking.
the
I mean,
Partagás Festival,
that was awful.
it was, but I'm saying my point is that the lunacy of this event inside these walls of these the Wednesday night event where they announced the Bolivar new gold medal cigar was at El Laguito. Okay. the Friday night event where they announced the Partagás Linea, the new cigars that are coming from Partagás, 3 new cigars, which is kind of like the Montecristo Linea and the Romeo y Julieta. What are those called?
The Nobles and
Yes.
Dianas.
Nobles, Dianas. It's a higher level regular production cigar than the normal stuff we're used to.
And they're blue banded, which
They're
is
blue
unusual for Partagás.
Yeah, it's a different color band on Partagás, but you know, it's just a disgusting display of capitalism inside these
Wow.
inside these walls, where outside is just absolute suffering. I mean, they can't provide food for their people, and they're charging people to come in and spend $3,250 for a week of events. If you go to all of them, that's how much it costs.
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolute lunacy.
How much was the dinner alone at the last dinner?
So the dinner on Friday night was $1,250.
It's insane.
It's insane. So the Bolivar event on Wednesday night was $700, and you got 2 cigars, and it was standing room only. The food was all on trays.
Yeah.
It was at El Laguito. I was very disappointed that night. And then the only other event I did was the Friday night gala event where it was Partagás themed, which I was excited to go to just because it was Partagás, and as Senator and we discussed going to the shop and our feelings about Partagás. I mean, I was very excited to be there and try those new cigars, and I was in great company.
Yeah,
my table was wonderful. I was very happy with the people I was around, but it's hard to ignore the lunacy of this event.
We experienced that in November, the first time you and I went, because the irony of what you
That's the word.
On a daily basis it's really tremendous, and you grapple with that.
Yeah.
As you're enjoying this decadent meal and a glass of wine and a cigar that no one else in that country really is going to experience. It's lunacy.
I didn't see a single person in Cuba.
No, they don't.
A Cuban national smoking a cigar.
No, because they can't afford it.
It felt so odd that the cigars that are coming from Cuba, and like not a single person was smoking Cuban cigars.
I gave our host, when we were leaving, I gave him 5 or 10 cigars, and he had never had any of them.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I'm talking like regular production, like a Romeo Y Churchill, a Partagás D4, a Hoyo Epi 2, a Bolivar Royal Corona. Like, he'd never had any of these cigars.
But that's understandable. When you make like $30 to $50 a month, how are you going to afford a $20 cigar? You just can't.
No, but and that's the comment on the lunacy of all this. I mean, the fact that when you go to New York, let's say you're in New York and you go to a fancy gala dinner that's expensive, the people who are serving you, the people who are bussing your table, the people who are doing any sort of service type job there, when they go home at night, they could feed their family.
Of course.
They're not worried about feeding their families. The people who were bussing our tables at this event were no older than 15 years old.
Oh,
right?
Man.
They were kids. They were children.
Yes.
And these people go home at night, and I don't know if they have food. They probably don't. They have to stand in line all day, begging and hoping that they can put food on the table at night. It's an absolute travesty. And then to watch these people announce this new Partagás line, and they have this big, kind of like Taylor Swift, this big, we're in a massive convention hall of thousands of people have paid for this event. I can't imagine how much money they grossed on this event. There's like a catwalk down the middle of the thing, and they have choreographed dance and music and all these things. And they're doing almost like Lion King, in Lion King when Rafiki holds up Simba, like here's the new Christ child.
Yep.
In the Lion Kingdom.
Senator did that when Senator Jr. was born.
I was there. They had a choreographed dance. I'm not kidding. They had a choreographed dance where 20 or 30 Cuban dancers held a box of the new Partagás cigars and did this Simba-like thing, like holding these new cigars up to the heavens, parading down this catwalk. It took like 10 minutes. And I'm just sitting there, and I can't help but think, like, I cannot wait to talk to the guys about this on the podcast, because it's such bullshit. It's such bullshit.
Yeah.
I was like embarrassed. It's embarrassing.
It's hard to know what to say. really. I mean, because we are patrons of this cigar, we spend a lot of money on this Cuban product. Habanos SA is owned by the Cuban government
And China.
and China. So we're, there's a lot to think about there.
Yeah. So the craziest part of the whole night, as you guys saw 1,000 times from every other media source that was at this event, was the celebration of the big auction that they do every year. And this year was by far and away the craziest auction that they had, which was highlighted by this Cohiba humidor. I think it would had 500 cigars in it that hammered for $4.4 million US, which is just lunacy to think about spending $8,000 on a cigar.
That's insane.
And this demonstration of, it,
I would never spend $8,000 on a cigar, but I would happily smoke an $8,000 cigar.
Me too.
That's my budget for 10 years.
Are you joking? You guys have spent. I'm not going to go there.
But I mean, it was crazy to be in the room. It's crazy to see the news reports on it.
Yeah.
They raised $11 million, boys, which is, of course, as you know, is going to the medical system of the Cuban people.
Supposedly, yes.
Yes. I'm happy I was there, but I don't know if I would go back.
Well, you have mixed feelings as an American citizen, seeing what you see on the street and seeing what you see behind closed doors and decadent events like this.
Yeah.
And forget as an American citizen, as a global citizen.
Yeah,
I mean,
of course.
you can be
That's
from any
true.
country.
That's right. That's right.
What Giz is describing is very valid in that, like, there's just this ridiculous kind of irony, and it sounds like it's completely divorced from reality.
Right.
Of like, okay, we're doing this thing. It's supposed to be for this good aim, but I mean, how much good are they really doing if there
Right.
are all these people that are starving on the streets? And like, it almost feels as though the five of us in a week there did probably more than this organization does in a calendar year.
So that's a great point. And I think that's a great way to sum up this portion of the podcast, where we will continue to go, and we hope listeners go. And you said so beautifully, Giz, a few recordings ago about our Cuban trips. You go in a spirit of giving, not in a spirit of taking.
Yeah.
So when you go, you support the people, you bring things to help the people. It's a tremendous gesture, and they love it and appreciate it.
Yeah, and I think
continue to do that.
And I think that someone who's thinking about maybe going to the festival and spending $3,250 on a week at that festival, the impact you can have with a quarter of that money, hitting the Cuban people, meeting Cuban people, helping Cuban people, that's the magic of the trip.
Sure.
And I'm glad I went, and I'm glad I could talk about it. And like I said, be anonymous.
Well, look, we had the same feelings at the Partagás Festival as well. I mean, it was very expensive, very decadent, disappointing, right? But
I think there's even a bigger point here that we're kind of arriving at, and that's like the beauty of this hobby, in the sense that every experience that we have gushed about from this trip cost us nothing.
Exactly.
That's true.
And Giz and Bam are talking about an experience that they had to actually spend a lot of money to be a part of, and that brought the least enjoyment for them.
Very true.
And I think that's like what's so magical about, right? We talk about, we can find a $7 cigar that can be so satisfying to us. You don't have to spend some crazy amount of money to have it. We talk about, obviously, the cigar being the great equalizer. It doesn't matter what your job is, doesn't matter how much money you have. If you're enjoying what you're smoking, that's what this is all about. And I think that that's what was so cool and refreshing, and even a learning experience in Cuba of, just talking about how content these folks are with so little. And I think all the experiences that I'm going to remember cost me nothing.
Yeah.
Right. Walking in the Partagás shop and Renee saying,
yeah.
I want you to be one of the first to sign the guest book there. That cost us nothing. That was an experience. Sitting down with Roberto, a guy who's 80-something years old, a cardiologist, and has traveled the world more than any of us in this room.
Yeah.
That cost us nothing. That I'll never forget.
And
that's what this is about.
And those experiences are so much more valuable than anything that you and I got at either one of those festivals.
100%.
The smile on the kids when you hand them the ball.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Yes.
It's just, it just makes you feel very happy.
Personally, I don't think I'll ever go to another festival, but I'll go and I'll bring as much as I can. And it's like you said, Senator, when you light up the cigar, it all culminates in this habit. The moment you light that cigar, you enjoy that $15, $20 cigar. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to me now, when I light these cigars, or I think about what we're smoking, I'm thinking about the people that we met. I'm thinking about the connections that we made,
Yeah.
the people we were able to help with so little.
Yep.
Who rolled it?
Who rolled
Yeah.
it? The people we
Yeah.
met that roll it.
Awesome.
You know, that's the magic of it. So
Awesome.
the Habanos Festival to me is a joke. And if you're going to Cuba, I wouldn't spend my money doing that.
It's not recommended.
Yeah.
If you're going to bring
I
that
don't
money,
recommend it.
donate that money.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Totally
But
agree.
a lot of people go to it.
Yeah. Well, you know,
Mostly
it's
industry guys.
it's a trade show.
Yeah.
really.
Leave it to
Yeah.
the industry folks. That's fine for them, my
But-
opinion.
But there's a lot of people who are not in the industry also go in, and
It's
they
true.
go every year.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
you're
I
right.
mean, the two guys you're talking to right now, they went
Yeah.
assuming that this would be maybe a life-changing experience,
and that's
it
why
clearly wasn't for them.
that's why we paid that money to go to those. Well, I went to the Partagás and he went to the Cohiba. He went to both the Partagás and Cohiba. You know, we thought we would meet people that were like-minded and of a giving nature, and it really didn't amount to that. So for me, I'm out.
Right.
I'm a shark. I'm out. Okay.
Yeah. How were the people dressed at the gala?
It was very formal.
Sure.
It was a gala dinner. Yeah. Everybody
All right,
had.
so we have to hear this now. So Gizmo, what were you wearing?
Tuxedos?
at the gala?
Oh,
Black tie?
Were you wearing a hoodie
No.
with buttons?
No, I had a button.
Hoodie with buttons.
No,
No,
he had
I-
a T-shirt with the
I was very well dressed. I had a jacket and everything.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So at the Partagás Festival, he looked really dapper. I'll tell you, black button down, very appropriate, Senator, for that type of an event. Now, black may not have been the right choice, but he had a great pair of jeans on, great shoes, and a great shirt.
Well, he just said formal. You can't wear jeans to a formal.
well, this
No,
is
no.
Partagás.
The Partagás,
No, no,
the
yeah.
Partagás gala dinner is
walk
not
me
this
through
way.
Gala
the
dinner, yeah.
Habanos.
Yeah, I had a button-down shirt on, tucked in. I had a jacket, and my button was open. I didn't
What
have a
color
tie
was
on.
what color was your shirt?
It was a white shirt,
Well done.
Good.
and it was black.
Well
it was a
done.
matching
All right.
top and bottom.
Look
and
at
Oh.
We've
nice
taught
shoes.
him well.
And your shoes?
They were dress shoes.
Black?
Yeah.
Very good.
We've taught him well.
Semi-boy.
They were varnished.
They
though.
were varnished. They were definitely varnished. I varnished them. But yeah, you know, Habanos Festivals for me, I think it's going to be a one and done. But we'll
Mhm.
see. I like talking about it. I like reporting on it,
Yeah,
and I like telling the truth.
that's cool.
You know, I think there's a lot of media that celebrate this thing
No, absolutely.
unnecessarily, and I
Sure.
don't think that we.
Yeah.
That's not my take.
You know, I had a whole conversation with our interpreter.
Yeah?
About people that he knows that right now at that very moment after our decadent dinner, you know, they didn't have food and they were struggling, and it's part of what happens there. But they're so resilient and happy regardless of what they're going through. It's a sin for us to complain about our lives in any way.
They are a happy community overall.
They are.
They
Oh
just
yeah.
are.
Yeah.
They're very content.
Yeah.
But that's
You
the thing, and it goes back to like what made that trip special for us. It's because they define their life and their happiness based on their experiences, their interactions, the people that they're around. They don't define it based on how much they have. That's not what it's about. The same way that we talk about when we're going to these places, you know, we're not defining our experience by how many cigars did someone give us or did we find or get at these places. I mean, we came back with very few cigars, in fact. That wasn't the purpose of the trip.
No,
All the experiences we had, it was the people we met, the interactions, the experiences. That's what makes it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Love it.
So that's the Habanos Festival, Partagás Festival in the shops. What a great trip to Cuba, boys.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to go back and
I'm
have
happy.
many, many more
I'm
of these
very
stories.
happy to have experienced that with everyone in this room.
Yeah, I'm
Same.
glad that we did it.
It was awesome.
Couldn't have been better.
Brothers in arms, lizards in Cuba. How do you can't beat that?
It was
Great experience.
Yeah, and I think it just affirms. I mean, anyone who considers himself a lizard and listens to this podcast, you love Cuba. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no other way
Yeah.
to put it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And if you go with the right mentality, like we've talked about so many times, if you go down there not expecting
No.
lush,
No, no.
accommodations and
Go in the spirit of giving.
exactly.
You're
Yeah.
golden.
Yep.
And you get back so much in return.
All right, boys. So we're coming to the end of the evening here, the end of the Montecristo Edmundo. What are you guys thinking on this thing?
I gotta say, I'm about an inch away. I'm still enjoying the cigar.
Me
It's,
too.
it's quite delicious.
It's very pleasant. It stayed like mild to medium.
Yeah.
It didn't really pick up in strength.
And no sharp edges.
No sharp edges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Construction was great. Combustion was fantastic.
I have to admit, the last minute pairing works.
It was.
It's working well. I'm on my second glass.
Yeah, the High West did well. I'm
Yeah.
going to have a little bit more.
There you go.
But I'm very happy with it.
It'll make my friends very happy to hear that.
Kind of like Senator said, I mean, a double rye, expecting that a double rye was going to go well with a Cuban cigar, was a surprise. And it was a really nice pairing tonight.
Sure. Worked.
Yeah.
I'm glad we did this stick because I've been very aggressively opposed to the Petit Edmundo. Not that it's a bad cigar. I just think people really acclaim it as a great cigar. For my palate, it's never quite struck me that way. Maybe with a lot of age, different story. I don't think I've had a heavily aged one. But this cigar, all the way through, just really enjoyable. Not the most complex stick, but for what it is, very good.
Pagoda, did you find that it built in body as you get closer to the end? For me, it did.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah.
But it was still mild to medium. But I did really enjoy the pleasant feeling. Very milk chocolatey, very comfortable, very easy smoke. Meaning the construction was great, of course. The combustion was great, and for me, the more and more I think about cigars, I often think that the combustion really also adds to the value, at least when I smoke cigars. And for me, for a Cuban, I thought this was very, very.
I think
very
this
good.
cigar would also fit in just like a QD50 in the morning.
Yeah, it's a morning. Yeah,
A
morning to
cup of
afternoon.
coffee after breakfast, maybe.
Yeah.
Light
I
breakfast.
agree with that in flavor profile. It's a little too long for me for a morning smoke. Like a traditional Robusto is as long of a morning smoke as I typically would want, like a D4 I love in the morning. So that's my only thing. But flavor profile wise, I 100% agree.
Saturday morning.
There you go.
It would be nice with a cup of coffee.
Yeah. I
Oh,
think
it'd be great, I think.
so. Yeah.
Because the QD50 for me is a little light. I think I'd actually like this with an espresso.
That QD50 in the
The
morning.
QD50 has more flavor than this cigar.
It does. I would put that just above. I would put it
Promise
above
you.
this. Yeah.
Did we rate
He's
that
right.
cigar?
We have not.
We got to do that
We
cigar.
haven't tried it yet. Yeah.
Yeah. Because we've done the Coronas Claro and we've done the QD50, but we haven't.
I say that
the
because the
54.
QD50 is firmly medium.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've done the 54, not the 50.
Right.
We got to do the 50.
Yeah.
All right. So you guys ready to do the formal liquor rating on the High West
Yeah.
double rye?
Yep.
All right, Bam Bam, you're up.
I am going to go with an 8.
8.
It's easy drinking. I didn't try it without the ice. Senator did, and he cringed a little bit. But I think after the ice went in, the sweet notes came out, easy to drink, really nice flavor. I think it went great with the cigar. Good pairing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pagoda.
I think it matched with the cigar pretty well. It did go, with the ice, it was pretty smooth, except for, as like I think Bam mentioned earlier,
It's not a
that
pagoda sip.
it's not with that you do get a little bit of harshness, but having said that, I've been between a 7 and 8, 7 and 8. I'll give it an 8
There you
because I've
go.
enjoyed the cigar so much and the pairing so much.
Mm.
Senator.
This is easier than I thought. I'm in lockstep with these guys. I'll give it an 8. I think even when I had this neat, it wasn't overly aggressive.
No.
It just had a bit of a bite.
Mm.
But with ice, it really opens up in a nice way. I like the kind of sweet finish that worked well with the cigar, and the price point honestly is absurdly good. I mean,
It is.
for $30, it's not easy to find quality spirit at that price point, and I think that this definitely classifies as that at that price
It's
point.
true.
Yeah, that's how much you get like a drink in the city nowadays.
Yeah,
For one drink.
One drink. It's ridiculous. For that, I think it should be a 15, but having said that,
It's true.
So I'm between a 7 and 8. I was, having not considered price, but considering the price is $32, it's definitely an 8 for that value.
Wow.
Now, if it was
This
if it was
is-
60 or 70,
Oh yeah,
I think I'd put it at a 6 or 7.
Yeah.
But at $32, I always factor in value. I definitely think it's an 8.
Awesome. Awesome.
look at this Bam.
8.0.
Oh, my
8.0,
Lord.
Bam.
Love
Look
it.
at you.
My lord.
All right, so we've come to the end of the Montecristo Edmundo tonight. You guys ready to do the formal lizard rating on it? All right, Brewster, you're up.
Yeah, it's an 8.
Ocho.
Ocho. So it's also an 8 for me. I think that I don't know if I gave the Monte 2 an 8 or a 9. I think I'd place that at a 9.
I mean, for as much as you smoke that, I'd hope you gave it a
Yeah,
9.
but the one that we
Yeah.
did on the pod, I don't remember what I rated it. but this is definitely an 8 for me.
No, you gave it a 9.
Yeah,
if
this
I
is
remember.
definitely an 8. Definitely performed better than the Monte 1, no question. And then the Monte 1935 that we did very early on in the podcast. That cigar was phenomenal.
It's
No,
phenomenal.
the linear, yeah.
The Linea, yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, that was great. So, 8 for me. Senator.
I'm also at an 8. I'm just glad the Edmundo line, this has finally given me something that I'd be interested in smoking again. The only things that precluded it from a 9 or a 10, I think it's a very straightforward cigar. I would not say it's a complex cigar, but it's a very enjoyable one. Young, I'm amazed that I never, at any point really in smoking it, felt that I got a ton of rough edges or ammonia. So I especially appreciate when you can smoke a cigar young and enjoy it even more as it ages. So it's firmly an 8. Definitely recommend for me.
Okay, Pagoda.
Same here. I think I've enjoyed the cigar more than I thought I would. Very simple though, very easy smoke. I think even when you get friends over and who have not really got into cigars, I think this could be an easy one to present to them as well.
That's a great point.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that.
That's excellent.
It really
important
is.
point.
Yeah.
And what's the price point on these?
They're right around $20.
Yeah. All right. No, that's absolutely fair then. I think it's a definite 8 for me.
Yeah, it's a great point. If you've got guests over, if you want to give them a Cuban, this is a good cigar to hand them.
Yeah.
I'm at an 8 as well. I'm at an 8. It's an enjoyable cigar. I've had 5 of these before. I've got a bunch at home. They weren't always very memorable to me, but when I had them, I liked them. I just don't think about it often enough, but it's a good cigar.
Yeah.
8.
Well, that's the
8.
thing. I think it's like, it's not the most complex. So
And
it's not something maybe you wake up the next morning thinking about.
Yeah.
But, and I love Pagoda's point. I mean, someone at any stage in their kind of smoking journey would appreciate this cigar. You can give this to a novice. You can give it to someone who's experienced. And it slots in at a number of different points during the day. I mean, we're smoking this in the evening, saying it's mild medium. That's in strength, but there is flavor.
Yeah.
It's not like this
And
is
it's
so
good flavor.
light in
It is
flavor
good
that
flavor.
you couldn't enjoy this in the evening. So I love the versatility of it too.
It's very versatile. And I think your point of the lack of complexity, that's not a negative thing, but it's something that doesn't linger in your mind, where a very complex cigar, I think about that for weeks after I have it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But a great cigar tonight.
So that's an 8.0, boys, for the Montecristo Edmundo. It does make me want to try the double Edmundo now, because I haven't had that. I don't know what the size on that is. I'd have to look, but
I'm sure Rooster's had it.
yeah, I definitely want to try it. Have you had that cigar, Rooster?
Yeah.
And what is that? How does that compare to this?
It's double the pleasure.
So it's a
I was
six,
about to say double the size because I double the pleasure. I like that.
so it's a 16.
I like that.
I like it a lot.
And the other thing too is, I think what's interesting about what Pagoda said is not only for folks who are novice to expert smokers who smoke a lot, but I think also people who prefer a lighter cigar versus a stronger cigar. It kind of, I think, serves a lot of those folks, maybe not second, third, fourth cigar of the night, but if you're giving it to some, I think this would work in a room full of people that want to try a Cuban. I think this is a perfect fit
Good point.
for that, for this cigar. I think it's perfect for anyone and who has any kind of preference, mild, medium, or full.
Yeah, I must say, for a short Monty, I love the Media Siglo. Is it Media Siglo?
It's the Media Corona.
Media Corona.
Yeah.
That I had it this morning.
Dude,
Fantastic.
you and I love that cigar.
I like that.
I want to bring one for Senator.
Someone's got to share.
I mean,
I've never had
Bam
box.
Bam has the market cornered on
I do.
Montecristo.
I'm looking at
Yes.
Rooster right now.
I'm looking at you.
That's a great little cigar.
Is that what size is that? Is it close to the half Corona?
It's exactly the same size as the half Corona.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, we need to try that.
It's a different.
Do you see what's happening, Senator?
It's a little
Do you
different.
see what's happening?
It's different. It's different. Like the up and half.
We're waiting.
You're keeping
All
secrets,
right.
bougie Bam.
No, I'm bougie.
Yeah.
I think.
And also a
Wait,
petite
I don't
num-
have connoisseur corner over there. He's bougie.
You were there.
I
You've been there for a while
appreciate-
now.
You know what? That warms my heart.
And also the petite number 2.
I've never had that.
That's a
You
good
guys would-
cigar.
That I
I've
want
had
to
that.
try. I
I've had
haven't
that.
yet.
See, now he's more bougie than I am.
I don't have that. You might.
No, I don't.
All right, boys. So an excellent trip to Cuba again. This was a wonderful experience with you guys. As Bam said, I'm so glad we got to experience it together and tell these stories. I hope you listeners out there enjoyed our recap over these last 4 Cuban
When are we
episodes.
going back?
That's a good question.
Good question.
We have to figure that out. We'll let
Can't
everybody
wait.
know. Can't wait.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. All right. So an 8.0 for both the High West Double Rye out of Utah, which is crazy,
Yeah.
and the Montecristo Edmundo.
Haven't been many pairings that scored evenly like that.
Yeah, it's
cool.
it was a good match tonight.
It's a good sign.
It was a
Great
good
night.
match.
Yeah.
All right, boys. Excellent night. We'll see y'all next week. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Thanks for joining us. You can find our merch store and ratings archive at our brand new website, loungelizardspod.com. That's loungelizardspod.com. Don't forget to leave us a rating and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. If you have any comments, questions, if you want to reach out, say hello, tell us what you're smoking, email us, hello@loungelizardspod.com. You can also find us on Instagram @loungelizardspod. We really appreciate your time, and we'll see you next week.